So the British Army's getting a new weapon system, but with something new and shiny, are we about to lose a key skill? That's the video that we're going to be talking about today. So it's not new news that the Army is now looking at new weapon systems to potentially bring into to its users. And I've seen it on Forces News, and I know you definitely will have seen it because it just hasn't happened yesterday. It's been a while now. So they've been trialing these different weapon systems. But it was interesting where I seen that the stuff that they were looking at potentially might not be able to fix a bayonet to it. So as an infanteer, who literally our emblem for our sort of branding is a bayonet on the flag, wouldn't cease to exist then. But what does that mean? Why would they look at that, and what would be the sort of fallout, sort of positives and negatives for it? And genuinely, I know a lot of infanteers, especially veterans, you're going to be watching this, you're going to be getting sick in your mouth right now, because I know it. There's nothing more satisfying or more thrilling when you're in that fight and it all hell's breaking loose and the adrenaline's pumping. You're just getting in amongst it, and then just someone turns to you and your section commander just says, "Fix bayonets." There's no sentence like it. Right, it is game on now. So that is class, and I do get that. But we're looking at the other things. If and the SAEA3 is fine. It's a decent weapon system. If you know your way around it and you apply your marksmanship principles and you practice shooting, you can engage and win in firefights with it. But it is a bit heavy and it is a bit bulky. And I've had experience of using different weapon systems and playing with different weapon systems from different nations and all the rest of it. And when a weapon is far lighter and it just moves and works when you want it, it becomes second nature, and it really enhances. And if you're all over your marksmanship principles and you have a more superior weapon, you become a more lethal soldier. But what would happen if we were to take away the bayonet? Now you look at the sort of theatres now, and that's where it's not no news over in Europe and in Ukraine. We're still within trenches. But in that case, if we are still going into trenches or in an urban environment where it's not big rural open areas and we could suddenly turn a corner and be face to face with someone, it's then, now that if the bayonet wasn't to be fixed to the rifle because we get a new rifle, it's then bringing in more different training. It's hand-to-hand combat. It just doesn't, it dabbles in it sometimes, but the Army just doesn't do it in a way where anyone who's going to be on the front line, so combat arms, anyone who falls under that bracket, is trained properly in hand-to-hand combat and really to defend themselves. So you could probably look at getting, because there's going to be people throughout the whole of the service who are already going to have an interest in their civilian lives, whether it be any like Brazilian jiu-jitsu, any of them kind of self-defense stuff. So then get them qualified, and then they would then train up their units. So then all the people within their units understand it, and it's not just doing it once on a sports afternoon on a Wednesday once a month. It's really making it a part of your physical training, and it's weekly. So it's like going to a club. So they're really all over it, and then it's bringing it into the syllabus, because that's the other thing. If you take away the bayonet, then what happens to bayonet fighting? Because not just infantry. So if you're watching this and you think, right, I'm not going to infantry, this doesn't appeal to me. Anyone who's going through basic training, no matter what role or they're going to go and do in the Army, you will do bayonet fighting as part of your basic training syllabus. And if everyone watching this, drop it in your comment section below if you can remember your bayonet lesson, because it is something that you'll remember throughout your whole flipping career, because it is just a bit of a rite of passage. But that would cease to exist because there'd be no bayonet. But then you could just replace that with teaching people actually how to defend themselves with their fist, because 10, 15, 20 years ago or whatever, when people were deploying operations, whatever role you were within that section, whether it be a machine gunner, a rifleman, or a LSW gunner it was at the time, that was your weapon and that was it. Sidearms were there, but they weren't really about. I think some of the officers had them, and then the gunners had them as in the big gun, the GPNG, because it's a big heavy machine gun and need something else. That was it. But nowadays, when people deploy in operations, it doesn't matter who you are, you have a sidearm. So everyone has a sidearm. And on that, I think that needs to be brought in as in more training with the sidearms. Because anyone who knows their way around a weapon system, it may be a smaller, more simpler to learn as in the components of it and how to operate it. It's drills, but its marksmanship principles are a hell of a lot different to what a long barrel weapon is, because suddenly your barrel is like so short and that is just moving all the time. So it is a niche skill in itself, and there are some great shots out there with sidearms. So I think there'd be more training to do with that, and that would sort of help do that, because now we're thinking if our bayonets are gone, you've got your primary weapon system, you've now got your sidearm, and if you're lethal with this and with this, and if they're both useless or whatever happens, then you're then relying on this, your hands, and then how to self-defense and roll people around, throw people around, and what you need to do. And that would be training would need to do that, and that would sort of caveat that. Now, this video isn't, I haven't got any insider information saying the bayonets are going. I just sort of seen it in a comment and go, that'd be an interesting video to come and speak to you all about, because clearly I know some veterans watch this, and and especially infantry, and the bayonet, like I said, it was a key symbol of infantry soldiers. But who knows, potentially that might disappear. But I don't think it's all bad news, because there's all different sort of ways and methods that we can apply the future soldier to be more lethal. And you got to look at the battlefields now as well. It's just flipping drones are everywhere. So sometimes you're maybe not getting the chance to get in, and maybe by the time a soldier is faced, we're talking about peer on peer now, a soldier is peer on peer, a distance to close in, that's like your worst day, last case scenario, because everything else is now like, indirect fires and artillery first, smash, smash, smash. Now this new thing, drone waves, all these kamikaze drones, like one-way drones, boom, 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 try and hit what you need. And then actual soldier to soldier is like your last ditch sort of scenario. So potentially that's probably what they're looking at then as well. So interesting one there. I thought I would just pull it out to see what would happen. I'm interested to see what you think about it as well. I've done a video here. If you're interested and you're wrong on this, you're interested in joining the British Army, this little video here, we'll have a little bit of talk on what I need you to think about before you join the British Army. Think about that, and that will give you all the key siders. And if not, you're not joining the Army, it just gives you a little bit of interest on what we're all up to these days. Thanks very much for joining me, and I'll see you again on the next video. See you then.